Morning, everyone. Everyone hear me at the back? Okay. Thanks to all of you for coming. I thought it would be worth just kicking off proceedings. Firstly, thanking everyone for coming, but also to explain a little bit about how it is we've all come to be sitting in this wonderful space in the ICA this morning. My name is Enyi Nwosu. I'm the acting chair of the IPA Strategy Group. I'm looking after it whilst Amelia Terode eases her way back from maternity leave. And the purpose of the group really is to improve the quality and perceived value of the strategic and brand communication advice that we give to our clients, and we're formed very much committed to doing that for member agencies. And obviously if we do that and get it right, it leads to better work and in turn better client relationships, client and agency relationships. So in order to meet these objectives going forward, we thought it would be a really good idea to survey the planning community, that's you lot, to get your own thoughts on how the brief and briefing process has changed over the last few years. And unsurprisingly, the briefing process has indeed changed over the last couple of years. And there was a real clear desire from all of us in the group and you guys on the floor there to understand how we could get better at it and look for help and guidance and advice in this area. So the thought of modern briefing was born on the back of that research, and we've been really genuinely energised by the response to this event. We've been told by the IPA anecdotally that it's the first event that sold out in 24 hours in the history of all IPA events. So thank you for doing that. Initially we were going to be hosting it at M&C Saatchi, but because the demand was so high, we've had to come to the ICA, and it sold out again. And we already have a waiting list for the next event, which we don't even know what it is yet, which is brilliant. So, but we will talk more at the end about where we go next with modern briefing. Right now, so back to this morning, we have a fantastic lineup of speakers, and I'm delighted that we've partnered with Paul Kemp-Robertson and the team in Contagious, and Paul's very much going to chair the discussion and the talks this morning. The talks are from 6 brilliant speakers. I'm sure you'll agree when we get to the end. Talking for 10 minutes, each armed with a challenging provocation surrounding their take on modern briefing. And we've gone even further than that. So at the end of the session, we're going to give you or leave you 12 top tips to take away that you can start actively using in your day job and start thinking differently and doing differently on the back of what you hear this morning. So that's it from me. Thank you very much again for coming, and I'm going to hand over to Paul. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm actually exceedingly chuffed that Contagious is involved with this event. We get invited to be partners on a lot of events and initiatives and generally have to decline, but on this one we were really kind of excited because we're hoping it's going to turn into a really kind of provocative and enlightening series of events. And I just want to thank Enyi for inviting us, and to Leanne and all her colleagues at the IPA for including us. We'll be covering the event today via Contagious magazine and on Twitter, and I'll give you the hashtag later for today. So Contagious kind of sits, just for those that are maybe not familiar with us, we sit at sort of like the intersection of technology, marketing and consumer culture. And I think that's like a really, really interesting sweet spot, probably the most kind of interesting and challenging and provocative place to be in business right now. And I think that's why modern briefing is particularly relevant, because it kind of sits in that sweet spot. And what we've done is, about 2 years ago, we created a consultancy division called Contagious Insider to really kind of explore the gaps and the tensions and work with agencies and brands to figure out, you know, what's happening around the fringes of that sweet spot and all the new challenges, you know, facing the business. And I think that at the heart of all this, and this is something, you know, we've explored in the magazine and at Cannes a couple of weeks ago, is this kind of fundamental need for reimagining business, full stop, not just our industry. And that kind of the change of relationship, not just between, you know, brands and consumers, but also between brands and agency partners. So again, that's why I feel modern briefing is very apt and very timely and very relevant. So we think about some of the key trends that we've been exploring at Contagious for the past year, like one of which, you know, just an example is service design, which I'm sure a lot of you will be kind of, you know, taxed with and thinking about. But, you know, that's something like, you know, as a simple, obvious example is something like Nike Fuel, you know, which is the band everyone, you know, you can buy and it's got that 3D, 3-axis accelerometer that kind of tracks your progress. And basically that's something where if you listen to the guys at Nike, they're saying this is something that has taken us from being an athletic wear company, and we're now a technology company. And that's like a massive fundamental shift. You've got the same thing FedEx is saying, we're a software company with planes and trucks attached. Ford is saying we're a technology company now. Burberry is saying we're a content company as much as we are a fashion company. Red Bull is saying we're a media channel. We're not just a drink. Things are really starting to shift. One of the things that we explored on stage at Cannes was, just to sort of offset the glamour of something like Nike Fuel Band was Special K, for instance. Obviously, I'm not in the target audience, although my wife wishes I was. But we looked at something like the way that CRM has changed, because there's this kind of massive kind of significance and sort of rush into treating CRM as the new kind of sexy creative playground. And we just took an example from Special K, where supermarket shelf product, and we sort of looked at what they're doing, and it's really intriguing, because in America the platform is very much transactional, like do the 2-week challenge, buy lots of our sugary snacks, here's how to buy them, and you'll keep in shape. Very, very kind of one-dimensional. But the UK and sort of now European system is much more holistic. It's really interesting, where it's sort of placing that sort of consumer journey, really understanding that there are lots of steps, and the consumer journeys become much more messy and sort of diverse. And it's something where you get this platform that you sign up for. And what was interesting was our designer, because we needed some slides to show at Cannes, went to actually sign up for the program. And it said, you give all your age, your details and your weight and so on. And it came back saying, you're actually under your target weight, so you can't be part of the program, but we'll help you, stay fit and healthy, and here's some tips and so on. And as a platform, it's got things like editorial content, so very independent, objective editorial content about health and well-being, about beauty and about fashion. It's got all these kind of, recipes, so you can actually track, obviously Special K becomes part of it, but it's not all of it. And that's, I think, a fundamental difference, is that brands are acknowledging that they play a part in people's lives, but they don't dominate people's lives. And again, a nice fundamental shift. And what I thought was interesting about this platform was to say, here you are, we'll actually give you some advice and recipes, show you some tutorials, you've got a community hub to see how other people are doing and reacting to stuff. But then if you actually are interested in these things and these recipes, you can buy them. Via Tesco.com. So it's this really beautiful kind of walled garden. So reducing all the friction from a consumer perspective, even to the point of having these apps that you can download that use, this is actually augmented reality used in a good way as opposed to a gimmicky way, which is what's been happening for the last year, where you can actually, when you're out and about, understanding, as I said, in that customer journey, the pain points, that when I'm hungry, that's when I lapse, that's when I'm going to go and eat a burger because I'm starving and ready to kill. So you've literally got this app that can tell you, okay, there's a McDonald's right next to you, where you know where you are through GPS and augmented reality. This is the average fat content, this is the calorific nutritional value of an average meal at this restaurant. If you go 200 meters down the road, there's a Yo Sushi, and this is how it compares. That kind of directional, motivational advice. And I think that's the sort of, as we're getting into the sort of the future of brands and the relationship with people. And it's a kind of trend that we call, better with the brand. How do you, move people's relationships upstream and really start creating kind of invigorating and exciting and informative relationships with people. And again, one of the things that we talked about at Cannes last month was the role of brands in society in a much kind of wider way. So this is much more than sustainability and CRM. This is almost like a brand as an NGO, taking up causes and filling in the gaps that governments haven't quite met or don't have the will to do so. And what's interesting is that people, or consumers probably to you lot, are sort of granting permission for brands to do so. So one of the examples that we talked about was Chipotle in the US, which is a sort of Mexican restaurant chain that's just started winning awards for being incredibly adventurous and pioneering in terms of its chief executive strategy. But they've actually got involved in things like, what it means, the impact of organic farming. What it means for farms to suddenly start competing against kind of industrialized factory farming, and what that means for American society and communities, what the brand can do to support things like Farm Aid. And you get this incredibly integrated platform that the brand is really trying to push an agenda, and people seem really receptive to it. So again, I think that starts to fundamentally change the content and the direction and the shape of advertising and marketing, and obviously has a major impact on the brief. And Bill Clinton spoke at Cannes. I mean, it's almost getting quite ridiculous. It's gone from having Ronaldo, the sort of fat Brazilian footballer, to Bill Clinton speaking at Cannes with Selena Gomez in the middle. But one of the things that he talked about, it's like, it's big stuff when I mentioned about Chipotle, but he was saying that that he praised advertising practitioners for their capacity to, what he said, distill complex thoughts and insights into what he called synthesized intelligence. So it was a really smart way of sort of capturing what it is that we do. Enyi might call it a brutal simplicity of thought. It's 20 quid, please. But Bill Clinton, just to finish, he said, we need people like you, the advertising industry, to fire our imagination and to fill our brains as well as our hearts. He said, you know how to overcome people's inherent resistance to hearing a set of facts that they haven't imagined were true, yet are. And he talked about, he praised the ad industry's creative powers, its storytelling abilities, and its capacity to make people do things, understand things, and change things. So against this backdrop of change, the reimagining of business, the universal recalibration of what brands mean and what they stand for, I'm actually really, really fascinated to hear what our speakers have got to say this morning about the future of the brief and what this means for the industry. So before we begin, if you would like to tweet today, please could you use the hashtag IPA Modern Briefing, all one word, and there should be, for those of you who got the reception, there should be free Wi-Fi in here. So it just say ICA or ICA Theatre. So again, the hashtag IPA Modern Briefing. So each speaker, as Enyi said, is going to have 10 minutes. I'm going to be watching the clock quite religiously there and holding it up so that we try and keep the flow fast and so on. If you've got any burning questions, please leave it till the end of the session. We've got a good kind of half an hour chunk at the end for you to ask any questions. And then, obviously, I'll open up the floor to both the speakers and to you guys. And the emphasis, again, from the IPA is to ask very kind of challenging, insightful questions, because the best one will win a bottle of champagne.